Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I'm glad we had a good turnout tonight too, because I know the second night was helpful for people with that couldn't make it Monday night. So again, I'm Meredith Schneider. I'm the IT professional for the college here, and I worked on developing this application system in TK20 because it used to be all paper last year. So if you applied last year, you would do all this paperwork, but now you get to do it electronically. So so I'm going to kind of show you a couple things. One thing I'll start off by showing you is on the website here, the education website. If you go into programs, and then you select your program here, IESE, and then the application for admission. The same information that I'm going to go over in the application itself is right here on the web, so you don't actually have to log into the account or TK20 to do that. But just know that this, if you're like, oh, what other things do I need to collect? This is a good place to look for some of that stuff.
And if you need the recommendation form from a classroom teacher,
Yeah.
it's here.
Yeah, and we'll get to that later, but there is a form that we have when you, instead of a recommender writing a letter, we have them fill out a form. So as I mentioned, the process is now electronic, and you'll utilize the tool called TK20 to complete your application. And you'll also be using TK20 throughout your time as an ed student for other things, but this will kind of be your first initiation to it. So on this page here, I mentioned it goes to TK20, and these links both go to the login page, but you'll want to click this Create Your Account link because it'll actually take you to one where you'll see this admissions tab is kind of folded down. And that's what you're going to look for, because the obvious thing would be, oh, I'll just log in. Well, unfortunately, because you're not admitted to the program yet, your account isn't active. So what we have you do for the admissions process is you create a separate account just for applying to the blocks. And so that's what this information is down here. You'll click this link here to create an account. You'll fill out a really short form. You know all these answers. Your first name, last name, email address. Please use your UMD email. You'll create a password. It'll have to meet these requirements. And then come up with a secret question and answer. And then fill out this little box to prove that you're not a robot. Once you've completed this form here, it'll spit out a username. And you'll want to make sure you note that username. Write it down, copy it, paste it into some document somewhere, but just make note of that username because it's going to be different from your UMD username. In my case, it was mschneider0000. So a lot of times it'll have the 4 zeros, depending upon how common your last name is. But make sure you remember that because you'll need that during the application process. And of course, the password that you chose here. So you'll use those. So once you complete this form, it'll kick you out to a page that says, congrats, you made your account. And if you want to log in, you can click log in, and it'll even populate your new username into this field for you. I'm going to try to log in here. You'll get used to these little spinning animations here. So you'll start by creating a new application. And you'll select the application type, and this will, of course, be IESE. And just to make sure, all of you students are applying for fall admission, correct? Great. Yep, we just don't want anybody applying early. We had a little bit of that in a different program. But anyway, so you'll just select this application here, you'll click next, and it'll start a new application. I'm not going to do that because I don't want another blank application under my account here, but just know that those are kind of those first steps there that you'll take. Once you get into the application, this is kind of a preview of it here. You fill out a million forms online, I'm sure, before. So you'll see here you've got your demographic information, pretty straightforward types of questions. We do note that your current mailing address should be your Duluth mailing address because when they send out the letter to say, yay, you're in the program, they're going to mail it to this address. So make sure that you're putting that address and not your home if that's elsewhere. And make sure your student ID number is correct and accurate because this is actually how we will link your account. So as I mentioned, you make an account just for applying for admissions, but once you're admitted to the program, we use your student ID to link your admissions account with your UMD account. So then going forward, you'll continue to use your UMD username and password for TK20. But just for admissions, you keep that unique one, and then once you're admitted, we link them, and then you can just forget that one going forward. And of course, make sure your email address is correct so that we can verify that in the system. A couple things, education information, pretty straightforward. Most of you are just going to be IESE here. If you do have an additional major that you want to specify here, you can put that. If you're a minor, if you have a minor, you can specify that.
Do they put certificates in there?
We took those out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't see a need to report that information, I think, at the time. You'll select your advisor here from the list. And if you're not sure who your advisor is, we were just talking about this, you can find out in My U.
And Andrea Grocki is no longer, she's on leave, so she's not advising.
So if she's listed as your advisor, maybe speak with Jean and find out.
Or you can go over to the advising office and they'll tell you who your new advisor is.
Perfect. Yeah.
They assign those.
Oh, great. Good to know. Yeah, so that's just down the hall here. And then what semester will you begin your block coursework? You're going to choose fall and 2017. The next section here is the APAS report. And so what you'll need to do is through My U, you'll access your APAS, and you'll download a printer-friendly version of your APAS. And then there's a number of items on your APAS that you'll need to highlight, and that's actually where this web page will be useful for you, because this will give you the details of that. So I made this little help document. It's also linked in there, but this shows you where to find your APAS and printer-friendly version. And then, sorry, my mouse is randomly connecting and disconnecting. Because you'll need to highlight your APAS, there's a couple ways you can do it. You could obviously print it out, get a physical highlighter and do that. Most of you seem like electronic savvy students. So my guess is that if you have a Mac, you could use a program called Preview because that has a highlighting tool in it. I also, in this document, have referenced Adobe Reader, which is a free software from Adobe that you can download, which also has this little highlight tool in it. So you'll need to make sure that you are highlighting these different things. So your cumulative GPA, your cumulative credits, and then whether you are in progress or passed these courses with a C- or better.
What will you do if you're going to take one of them in the spring, in the summer?
Great question.
Yes.
That's actually our next step. So yeah, well, if you're going to take one of these courses, we'll document it on your tentative planner, which kind of shows your plan for the rest of your coursework here. So I'll get to that one in a little bit, but yeah, so you'll highlight all that information. That actually makes it a lot easier for us when we review it to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements, and then save it, and then you can upload it here. You can either browse for the file by clicking the Select Files button, or you can drag and drop it into this box. The next section is GPA. You're required to have a 2.7 GPA, both your cumulative and your major GPA. So that little help document I just showed you shows you where to find those on your APAS as well. And actually this, I think, will show you where you'll see it. This isn't the printer-friendly version of your APAS, but this is the location of where it would be, where you would find the cumulative and the major.
And they can take their APAS, the real paper, up to the Media Hub and scan it in.
Yes, yep. Any documents that you have that are physical paper documents, say, for example, you have
The 3 recommendations.
Yes, yep. Those will be the most likely that you'll have in a physical form. Yes, as Jean said, over in the second floor of the library, the Multimedia Hub, they have scanning stations there, so you can scan those documents that way.
And they'll help you if you don't know how to do it.
I also suspect that many of you have one of these and are pretty savvy at using the camera. So use good lighting, make sure that the image is totally clear when you take a picture of that document, and you can also upload those files. So it accepts JPEGs, PNGs, pretty much any file type you can upload there. So just know that that's an alternative way to document those requirements there. So with the GPA, as I mentioned, you'll be highlighting on your APAS, but we also have you report it out here because then we can run reports on that data there. The alternate GPA likely won't apply to you, but if you do have less than a 2.7 in either of those categories, you would connect with.
You have to make an appointment, and I would say do it now with Dr. Kay Woolleader. And she will expect you to bring your transcript, and you'll need to do it now because she teaches in 2 programs. She's the math educator who teaches in the secondary program, STEP. She also teaches in early childhood. The alternate GPA is designed specifically for people who, it's in some other institutions, it's called an academic fresh start. So say you were a mathematics major when you came and you did very badly in calculus your first year, and you took calculus and you took physics and you took US history and you bombed. You just barely stayed in school, and then you decided mathematics might not be the best program for me, or you were in business and you took economics and you hit macro and micro and your GPA was micro. We get a lot of business students and a lot of students from science. We get a lot of students from engineering who get in and say, I don't want to work with chemicals. I thought it would be cool and sexy, but it's not. So your GPA is not what you wish it would be. That's what the alternative GPA is for. Yeah.
What's the name of that person?
Woolheater. W-O-H.
Okay.
Her office is in the Green Suite. The Green Suite is where Changa Mueti's office is. It's where Jim Sorsha's office is. Beth Ruark's office is. Dr. K, where is she? Is she in that picture?
She may not be, but I was going to see.
They didn't name us.
No, but I think she's on here. There she is.
There she is. There's Dr. K.
So yeah, if you need help with that, if you made
She's
some mistakes,
the one you have to see. She's the one who figures it.
Yeah, so there's a formula that they use. They kind of extract some of those semesters that maybe you were in a program where it didn't quite fit, and they can adjust it. But
and she's very nice.
Hopefully, most of you don't fall into that category. So you'll be fine. You can just.
She's also very busy, so that's why you have to go to her now.
So again, that alternate GPA field is only if you need it. One thing I forgot to note when we started here was that anything that has an asterisk next to it is a required field. And you'll find out when you go to submit the form if you didn't fill something in one of those. The form will tell you. But just so that you know that anything that has an asterisk you'll need to complete, but if it doesn't, then you can skip over it. The next section is that tentative planner we were talking about earlier. And this is a way to show what courses you will be taking in addition to your block courses, or if you're taking some over the summer or things like that.
Yeah, you asked about summer. So see additional courses. The fall semester for you is those classes, but you can put in the additional courses section, right? Summer school, advanced basket weaving.
That would be my elective for the summer, would be advanced basket weaving. But anyhow.
Or astronomy, or whatever course it is you need.
Yeah, so the purpose of this is just to note that while you're in the blocks, you have an intense course load. For the first block, you have 18 credits. So they want to know if you have additional courses that you're still needing to take, your lib eds or other program requirements. So this is what this helps for. Yeah.
So that doesn't have a spot really for summer. So do we just because it looks like if you do additional courses, it would look like if you were taking it at the same time as the block.
Yeah, so this is it's a fillable PDF. So what you can do is in that field, I would just, as Jean suggested, write in summer and then summer 2017, and then just write the course name. Because, yeah, we're going to have to adjust this form because it came up during the previous session this week, too, that there are students that need to take courses over the summer, and we need to have a way to make space for that on here. So
And the parent and professional communication and collaboration course can be taken in the summer before you come into the blocks if you are admitted. So it's taught on Saturdays, otherwise during the school year. So you could take it during the summer, but you have to be admitted before, and then it'll be a permission number. Okay?
What's your
So
question?
then the additional courses, if you have a minor, would you put that?
Yeah, any classes that you're going to be taking concurrently with your block classes. Yep, you would put them on there. Yep, or say, for example, you're going to take them in the spring or the following fall. That might be, depending upon your course load, just note that, 18 credits is pretty intense. so it may be wise to wait on some of those, but obviously you'll talk with your advisor about the best plan for those.
I'm planning on taking a class at a different school online over the summer. So, when does that, connect to our school? What I'm saying is, it's a required class to get into the block, so I'm taking during the summer. When does it, transfer over to, this school?
I would guess once you've completed the course, you'd need to request that your transcripts be sent from that school to the university.
So will I not know if I get the blocks until it transfers over?
You can be.
We sometimes do. You're sort of on waivers. You're in on waivers. Put the course you're taking in that additional comments.
Okay.
That's where you put it. I would, and I'm really anal about this, make sure it transfers.
Yeah, I'm triple, quadruple.
Okay.
Excellent.
So you do that, and you need to, it depends on the institution, but you absolutely need to go to the registrar of that institution to make sure they know you need it credited to UMD.
Okay.
And then you can be provisionally admitted, and your letter looks different. Instead of rah rah, tell the news. It's more, you have been provisionally admitted, and until you do this, this, and this, we won't let you cross the bridge.
But there's many students that have that.
Oh,
so
it doesn't-
you wouldn't be alone in that
No,
instance.
you
so
aren't alone.
just know that. But we'll be tracking that so that just to follow up and make sure that you are meeting the requirements that you said. Hey, I'm going to take this class. Did you actually pass it with the grade that that is required for that program? Any other questions on the tentative planner here?
And they've made it so you don't have to type any of that in. Aren't you glad?
Yeah, so this is, again, a fillable PDF. I think we might be doing a Word doc next time so that you can add that additional summer semester in there, or summer term. Again, you'll save that file and upload it there. The next section is the professional statement, and I know Jean likes to talk about this one.
Yeah, and I didn't bring my sheet. There we go. I'll tell you how we handle scoring these, and then I'll tell you what we look for. First of all, you've already heard me say this. God's gift to you is spell check and grammar check. Use it. But two faculty members will read every application and score them. And there's a scoring device down below. We read and score, and the professional statement is scored. Your advisor will not be one of those people. If one of the two people gives you a low score, I get to ask someone else to read your application too. So there are 3 scores that are averaged, not 2. If you get too low, I will give your application to 2 other people. They will score it, and we will then use the 4 scores. We haven't really had to do that in the last couple of years. We've asked a third person to read it. If you get really high scores, we never ask anybody else to read it. But with we want to know who you are. Please don't tell us that you love little children. You have always loved them because they're so cute. You know that I don't like that four-letter word, cute. I want you to describe your experiences with kids, and you need to know that a lot of kids come to school with green snot hanging from their nose. Their hair hasn't been washed in several days or a couple of weeks. They might not have had a bath for a while, so they aren't necessarily cute. Neither do they smell nice. And some of those kids are the ones who really need you. So don't tell us how, no, we hear that. We want to know who you really are. What are your experiences with kids? Why did you decide to become a teacher? And those reasons range from, I worked in a summer camp for disabled kids, and I really saw what an impact I can have as a person. I work at the Boys and Girls Club, and I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing. My mother is a teacher. My father is a teacher. And I've worked in elementary schools since I was out of elementary school. So, and then describe the qualities that you believe you possess that make you a good candidate for teaching. Then you need to talk about diversity. And that's kind of hard in northern Minnesota, where all of our students are above average, and all of our students are from Lake Wobegon. But diversity is a lot of things. So you can be that you did a school program when you were in high school where you were paired with a kid in a sped classroom and for a school year, and it was the most amazing piece. So look at diversity in a big way. That we are really all about social justice. So think in terms of social justice and education. And right now, I will be very political. I'm very worried about social justice in education in American schools and in America. So explain how you see that relationship work. Then education, and I'll tell you, literacy is enormously controversial. So you can talk about the big questions, the inequities of kids living in the inner city, in poverty. And I'm praying that a certain Betsy DeVos will not become Secretary of Education. She's a strong proponent of private and charter schools. I'm not at all opposed to charter schools, and some of my best friends teach in private schools. But I can see her stripping, so that, who do you fund? Private schools, public schools? So that might be what you talk about. Standardized testing. All of you have been standardized tested to death. What do you think about standardized testing? That's a big issue. So there are lots of big issues in education, and poor Meredith has had to hear me on my soapbox.
Oh, you're.
So what are those big issues? You can say there are 16 big issues, but this is the one I want to focus on. And what we want to hear is your voice. We want you to stand out. So, does that help? And you get it all, be descriptive, straight on, avoid using the passive voice. I slam on people for using I would have. No, use the active voice. I did. So, there.
I know one other thing that came up last semester as well was that students saw this 300 to 400 words, And that is a guideline. I know some students were actually like editing, they had more than 400 words and they were trying to like pull words out to make it within that time frame or that word length for the essay. So it's a guideline. So if you do go a little bit over, that's fine. But just trying to give you that sense of like, that's not strict.
Yeah.
But just that, you know, that's kind of what it may amount to.
Yeah, in the future, you will do the EdTPA. The EdTPA has strict guidelines.
Word requirements,
Yeah.
word counts.
And they won't. You type in 600 words, and if they have said 599, you're cut off with that one last word. We don't do that.
Is this a letter format? Or what is the...
It's an essay.
An essay.
So we're not like doing...
No,
Correct. Yeah.
I lost
Looking at
that
the one
battle.
last year.
Yeah, I think they used to have a cover letter requirement
Yes.
for the program, but they favored the professional statement over the letter.
That was, Nidra and I lost that battle.
So,
Because I think it's easier for you to write a letter than it is for you to write an essay. So, think editorial. Aim for the New York Times. No. But that might be easier for you to write than a professional statement that's an essay. But I did lose that battle, so it's not a letter.
any other questions on the professional statement there?
You'll be fine.
Most likely you'll do that as a Word doc, I would guess, and then you'll just upload that file. You
And
have the
don't
rest.
be afraid to go to the writing center.
The writer's workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
And
library.
say, this is my profession. But tell them what your criteria are and tell them what you've done. And be honest about, I have trouble with transitions from one paragraph to another. So be specific about what you want and need. And write it, put it away. Read it aloud to your dog, your cat, your gerbil, your fish. Put it away. Do it again. So take time and then take it up to writing workshop if you want to. Or to a friend who's an English major. The Society of English Majors.
Anything else on the professional statement there?
You can do it.
All right, the next section is the documentation of experience. And so in order to be eligible for the program, you have to have at least 60 hours of supervised work with youth. And it gives you the criteria there. So we just have you report if you've completed it or if you're in progress. And then you will use this, this little field here to populate your different experiences. If you have one, that's all you do. If you have multiple that add up to 60, then you use this plus button here to keep adding to that list. I'll come with you in a second. And then one other thing I wanted to say is that as awesome as this system is, you'll be entering your hours here. We need you to just do a total of your hours. And if you're estimating hours, say you worked at a summer camp all summer long and you're like, I worked there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You know, you could maybe calculate that. But as long as
you get credit for sleeping.
Right, yeah, so it's a rough estimate, but I think mainly what we're looking for is just that it's greater than 60. So if you don't have the exact number of hours, then that's okay too. Yeah, so you had your hand up first.
Yeah, you kind of answered it. So I did work at a summer camp, so you
Okay.
can add that.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes, yep,
Yeah.
especially if it's with kids. That's a perfect
Okay.
example, yep. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
It says kindergarten through 8th grade. I worked in a preschool for 2 years. Does that count?
That's fine.
Okay, good. Any other questions about those?
Probably learned more that will help you then working with adults.
Yeah. But that's one of the, that's just one that students just have questions about what experiences count. And if you're unsure, check with your advisor. They'll be able to confirm or deny if it'll work for this process here. The next one is the recommendation forms, which we mentioned earlier. And those are also available on the web. We've got the link here to the form itself. And what this is filled out by a supervisor that supervises you working with youth. And it's in lieu of a letter of recommendation because it allows them to have a more consistent format for each recommendation letter. So each recommender is providing the same information for each student. So you'll need a minimum of 3. You can upload more, but just know that they're going to read just the first 3. So pick your best 3 and upload those to the system here. And that's also a fillable PDF, so if you want, you can send that to your recommender to be filled out, or you can print it and have them fill it out
Yes,
with a
ma'am.
pen.
In the back.
So I had I had someone fill it out, and I guess there was like a form. It must have been on her computer because I didn't hear thoughts from the other 2. But I guess it was just like a formatting issue, and it like whenever she would say she'd highly recommend me, it would also, if she said that, it would also like not give her the option to say she's not related to me.
Oh, well, that's
So I don't
unusual.
know, is there a place to like clarify that on the application? She couldn't get it to like.
So is that at the end here? Where does it say? Oh, I see. So she was like, strongly recommend, but then she couldn't check one of these boxes too?
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't give her the option to say she's not related to me if she's also said that she recommends me.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to check on our form, make sure that it's working right.
The other alternative you can do is print this out and give it to her. And have her send it back to you.
And then we would just take a picture of it and then
Yeah.
upload it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's ways like, I'm trying to think like with a PDF thing, you might just be able to like overlay like an X on it. It's, yeah, I'm getting really creative with my workarounds here, but but yeah, do you think that either of those options will work for
Yeah, they should.
this instance?
I can look more into it because I haven't looked into it that deeply yet. I had them so a long time ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I know, yeah, our initial iteration of the form did have a little wonkiness to it, so I wonder if maybe we have resolved it, but I'm definitely going to check on that to make sure that it is, that you can, obviously you should be able to make a recommendation and denote if you're related or not, so thanks for that feedback.
And when we score the letters, because of your recommendations, and we do score them, we look at where the recommendation is from. Did you work with kids? What age group? It's okay if they're young. We just want to know. And look down at where it says highly recommend. That can be swiftly turned into a 5-point Likert scale. So we look at very strongly recommend. And so if I or strongly recommend or recommend, so there's a 5, 4, 3, 2 down at the bottom. What happens is we will read the recommendations, where they're from, and then we'll also average this score in. That's why use the recommendations that say you walk on water.
See, it's pretty obvious that, yeah, these are your highest highest rated recommendations.
And then we give you a score.
Any other questions on the recommendation forms there? All right, on to the fun stuff. Teacher licensure testing. You all know something about this, I hope. If you haven't, this isn't the first time you're hearing about this. But if you haven't passed any of these tests yet, or haven't even attempted them, please take one of these, or you can just take one if you want one too. There's additional copies of that in the 116
office.
and the advising office too. Yep. But at the point when you apply to the blocks, you need to have at least attempted one of these types of tests. So a lot of you probably attempted the ACT Plus writing when you were in high school. And to know whether or not you received a passing score, that's what this link here points to, the education website that gives you the scores that are required for passing. So on all of these, none of these are required fields. You notice they don't have the asterisk next to them. So you don't have to report that you didn't attempt each one, but I had to add that in because I had a couple people last semester that accidentally selected passed or attempted, and they're like, I didn't do either. It's like, well, then don't click, but it's too late, and you can't unselect a radio button. So anyway, Just mainly we're looking to know if you passed or attempted. If you want to say that you haven't attempted all the rest of them, that's fine too, but we're not really that interested in that information. And also note that there's a lot of different tests. So ACT seems pretty straightforward, SAT, some of you may have done that, but last year, state changed the test that they use. So it used to be this MTLE basic skills exam, reading, writing, math. Over the summer, they went with this national NES essential academic skills test. And then, and that was just, between June and August of last year. And then starting at the end of August, they introduced the MTLE NES essential academic skills exam. And if you haven't passed and you're going to retake it, you're going to want to retake this one. Lisa, our licensure officer, who you'll be if and when you get to the end of your program and you're going to be licensed to teach, you will get to know her.
And she's nice.
Also very nice, yes. But she did indicate that with this test, you do get these tests are basically the same, but if you take the Minnesota version of it, you do get extra time. So you would likely want to register for that just for your own benefit, if possible. But this test is still acceptable for passing scores for teacher licensure. So the idea is that, yes, you've at least, if you haven't attempted them, or if you haven't passed, but you've attempted, that you continue to attempt, because at the point when you get licensed at the end of your program, you will need to have evidence that you passed these tests. So at this point, we're just looking to see that you've at least tried it. If you are scheduled to retake an exam, you can note when you're going to retake that by choosing the date from this little clicker here. And then we also have you report your scores as well. Whether they were passing or not, you can just denote them here and make sure, again, that you're finding the right test name, because they all are very similar. And then lastly, we have you upload a copy of your score report. You should have received one when you took the test, whether it was passing or not. If you don't have a copy of it, you can still obtain it from Pearson. And Lisa has information about that on this website here. So you just click on the test, and she has information about where to obtain a copy of your score report. Score release information. Any questions about teacher licensure testing? Almost done, I swear. Criminal history. Hopefully most of you are going to select this first one. Seems pretty straightforward. But if you have been convicted of a crime other than a minor traffic violation, we ask that you upload any materials describing the crime in which you were convicted. You'll also be required to do a background check when you do go into student teaching, so anything that you don't self-report here will come out then. So hopefully you're honest with us at the point of applying here.
Mm-hmm.
Last items are some consent forms. First one is just a permission to release your information. Pretty straightforward there. The next consent is a dual licensure disclosure. Just noting that your program does result in dual licensure, so you'll need to meet the requirements for both programs to be licensed in both programs. Next one here is the licensing agreement. This just talks about all of the different requirements that you'll need to have met to be licensed at the end. Sometimes people get surprised by some of the things that, oh yeah, I didn't realize I had to do that to get my license. So just knowing that up front is important. And again, some additional information about your program, being that it's unique with a dual licensure, and how the renewal works as well. Next item of consent is the Code of Ethics for Minnesota teachers. I'm sure you'll be talking more about this in your program classes here. But yes, definitely some.
You did that with Jane or with Donna last semester?
Yeah.
You will get it again at every professional day. Some of your courses will talk about it. And you will get it again when you apply to student teaching.
So yeah, some of them are kind of common sense things, but just some things to keep in mind as you're entering this field here. And then lastly, we have a fee statement, and this is just to give you a little heads up that there are some additional fees that are associated with this program. Some of them you maybe already be aware of, but just note that sometimes students, I think, were surprised when they found out that they had to pay for some of this stuff. So that's why we have it now here at the front of the the end of the application, but at the front of your entrance to the program, so that you're aware that those are some additional things that you'll be required to pay for. Really, this is the last thing. I think I just said lastly, and then I remembered that there's one more thing. So you'll need to meet with your faculty advisor, and what they will do is go over what's a program eligibility checklist with you. And I'll just kind of show this to you here. And basically, they're just checking a lot of the same things that we talked about on the web page there, that you're meeting all these requirements and that you actually are eligible to apply to the program. Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple of options with this program eligibility checklist, and you'll want to connect with your advisor to find out what option they prefer. Because we're transitioning from a paper to an electronic process, sometimes we still use paper, sometimes we're using electronic. So if your advisor prefers the paper version of the program eligibility checklist, you'll need to bring this with you when you go meet with them. They'll go through it and sign it at the bottom. You will take a picture or scan it and upload it into TK20. If your advisor is comfortable doing an electronic review of your application, what you'll do is when you get to the bottom here, this isn't a required one here, so you can, when you're all done, you'll actually click complete, and that'll send it to your advisor, and they can start the review there in TK20. So they'll do a comparable form in TK20 where they just say, yep, you have 60 credits, yep, you have a GPA, that's 2.7, all those eligibility checklist items.
And Meredith did this so that ours is on one side and yours is on the other.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. So yeah.
It's cooler if you have two screens.
Yeah, I can actually kind of show you a little idea of what that might look like here. Just pull up a prior applicant here.
If you are my advisee, I don't do email appointments. I want to talk with you person to person. I prefer that. And my appointment schedule's on my office door, and the times are outlined in blue that are available. Other colleagues, like Kay Woolleader, has an appointment schedule on her door and crossed out those times when she's not there and blanks when she is. So all of us sort of do appointments individually, our own way. I don't do it and I don't do emails on weekends. I have a rule. So other faculty sometimes do. I don't. But just be aware, you can, if you do it now, say, can I set up an appointment now to see you next week or the week after? How do you do it? I know Helen Mangan-Wallace does everything. Her life is open. I do Google Calendar, but it's not available to anybody.
All right, I just wanted to give you that sense of what your faculty advisor would see if they do the electronic process. They can pull up, this is a different student here, applied last semester, but they'll pull up your application on the left side, and then they have this review form that they'll do on the right side. They'll complete that, and then you're on your way. Once they've done theirs, then as Jean described, the program faculty will do their reviews where they rate your professional statement and your letters or your recommendation forms. And then we're estimating, so the applications are due, I should have told you this, like right away, make sure that you know, and you're probably already aware, that they're due Friday the 17th at 4 p.m. So that's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that should be enough time to collect all this information. And then Jean described at the prior meeting that we're anticipating probably shortly after spring break.
Yeah.
That's when those letters of acceptance will be going out. So that's when you should expect that, because that should be enough time for you to get registered for classes for the fall. Is that a question or a stretch?
Both.
Okay.
Possibly know about how many people are applying.
Well, how many? Do you remember how many were at Monday night session?
I've heard only like 15.
Monday was 15, yeah.
15. So yeah, I would guess about 25.
We accept 30 max.
So yeah, and this is something too that I shared with a couple of students that were waiting early was they want you in the program.
Yeah.
So please don't be intimidated by the requirements here. They want you. You want to teach and they want you. So please seek help as you need it. My office is right across the hall
And
here in
she's
113.
nice.
If you need help with the TK20 application stuff, let me know. Feel free to contact me. In that email that Lisa shared with you guys, she noted that I have some office hours. So you'll see sprinkled on my calendar here, I've got different open office hours. So if you want to come in, just sign up for a time by clicking that link. And then you'll note that on the Friday that it's due. Please don't wait until then. But
Oh, please. don't.
I've given you the whole day. So if you need time on that due date, I'm here for you. If you have questions about the application components, like does this count or is this okay, check with your advisor. They're good for that too. Or Jean, yes. Yes.
I just thought of it right now.
Great.
For like when you say that they want like a score report for whatever test you ended up taking, do they like, because through ACT anyway, you like send it to the school? Is this, or can you just like do like, because like you can find a score online, like I can find it right now, or do they actually want like an official score report sent? Because that takes.
Right. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be an official score report. It can be, you can take a screenshot of it on the web. If that gives you, the score quantity that you received, that's sufficient for what we need. It's just evidence that you did pass those tests at what you said they were.
Doesn't the school already have all of our ACT scores though?
Because we had to submit those to applying to the school.
Yeah, so like can we just like get that and like transfer it into our
They haven't ever in the past done
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I mean it is stored in PeopleSoft associated with your account, but we need that information here.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so
That makes sense. I don't know
yeah.
if we can like transfer it over somehow.
That would be awesome. Maybe
Yeah.
someday as we get better with this.
That's limited to, PeopleSoft is
Yeah.
PeopleSoft.
Well, in PeopleSoft, we do extract some of that information
Yeah.
from PeopleSoft to get. That's how we create your accounts in here. That remember I mentioned linking your
Yeah.
UMD account. It is all pulled from PeopleSoft, so it will get that score. But we need to know that at the time of the application, we need to have evidence that you've attempted it.
And the Board of Teaching is most persnickety. And they used to want paper copies.
Right.
So, fortunately, they've decided they will do this, but that still means you need evidence. And my suggestion is, you have to take tests for admission to the blocks for your teacher license. Make copies, put it on your desktop, because you're gonna have to have that kind of proof when you go to interview for jobs.
Yep.
All kinds of things. And now they're only doing licenses, they're only notifying people that they are licensed online, and they tell you, make a copy of this, a hard paper copy, but keep the notification piece on your desktop.
Keep it in your Google Drive.
Yeah,
Your desktop,
or Google.
your computer could fail. So
Yeah, well, that's.
I know what you're saying, but yes, yeah, back it up. So back it up in multiple places. Put it on a jump drive somewhere. But yeah, make sure you keep those score reports and your licensure information. It's good to just keep it while you're a student and once you start teaching too.
For where you are like logging in your volunteer service hours
Yeah.
and then your recommendation forms,
Mhm.
do those have to match, or can you have like different experiences in your service than your recommendation?
May I recommend that you put the top 3 be the ones that are your recommendations. Then the rest can go below.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if you have more. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes.
All right. Well, best of luck, and we're here if you need us.